Want to know the hidden meaning behind what women say and do? Then check out the Chictionary. It's the Wing Girl Method's manual that gives you a full rundown of all the things women say that confuse men, written in dictionary format. Go get a copy of the Chictionary by going to winggirlmethod.com/chick. That's winggirlmethod.com/chick. Coming up on this week's episode of the Ask Women podcast, we are going to dive into something we've never dove into before. We're going to talk about how to talk, not what to say, but how to talk with dialect coach and tonality expert Jamison Bryant. She is going to tell you how to express yourself so that you sound more confident, more masculine, and overall more attractive to women. So keep listening.
Hey guys, welcome to the Ask Women podcast. I'm your host, Kristen Carney, along with Marnie Kinross. And today we're focusing on speaking and not really what to say, but how to say it. And we have Jamison Bryant on, who's a dialect coach, who's going to help us with that.
Hello. Hi,
Hello,
everyone.
Mrs. Bryant.
Hi. It's yes. Thank you, Marnie. I know you haven't been able to call me Mrs.
No, well, now I have, but just for people who are listening, I just want to give like a little bit of an introduction to Jamison. Jamison is one of my oldest friends, probably one of my first friends that I made in Los Angeles. We lived in the same building with each other, quickly became friends. We used to go to 24-hour gym or whatever it's called. What is it called? 24-hour. Yeah,
24-hour fitness.
Yeah. And we would go at 1:00 in the morning. I think we did that a
On
couple
Ocean
of times.
Park.
Yeah, it was amazing just to like say, who
I
the hell is
go to Ocean
here?
Park 24 hours.
Oh, so maybe we saw you there at some point. But honestly,
No.
we would go late at night because we didn't think anybody would be there, but it was seriously
Right, and it's called
packed.
24-hour fitness.
I know. So we're like, who's taking advantage of this?
Take advantage of
Well,
it.
what's
Yeah.
crazy is they are not open 24 hours.
They aren't.
Wait, what?
Which hour
No,
are they not open?
Is it like a
there's,
bar? They close at 2?
Well, it's weird. There's certain like Sundays they're not open. I think they might be open 24 hours generally, but they definitely close certain days where it's not always 24 hours.
interesting.
That's very deceiving.
Yeah,
Well, we
super
never
deceiving.
found that.
'Cause I
But-
want to work out 24 hours a day.
Right. That's who
I
you
don't take
are.
an hour off.
That's how you are in 2019. But so Jamison and I would talk, and she would talk about how she wanted to be a dialect coach. And I didn't really know what that was, but from what I understood, it was about teaching people how to do accents. So she would just start talking to me in all these different accents from all over the world. And she was spot on for every single accent that she was doing. And then
I'm so jealous. My accent is the same for no matter what country or what language. It's like, oh yeah, it's just all the same.
Well, that's how Jordan's is, my husband. He starts doing some sort of accent, and then it always ends up being Indian in some way. But
Oh my God.
Jamison is spot on. She can like hear like every little nuance to different accents.
Don't travel with me.
Yeah.
I'm terrible in the airport. I just don't listen. I'm listening to everyone, and if my husband or anyone trying to talk to me, I'm not listening to you. I'm listening to
other people.
all the
Well,
voices.
which is really interesting because now you are a professional dialect coach. You work with tons of celebrities. You work on film sets, television sets, and you help people hone their skills with their tonality and also with their cadence and different accents. And so I always talk about in my coaching how for women especially, it's not about what you say, it's about how you say it. And that's what I want to talk about with you today. Why is that important? Why is it important to women and why is it important in general?
Well, I think that when we hear someone's voice, there's so many layers to it because language, I mean, first and foremost, language is very tribal. And we kind of want to hear someone that we feel like we can be connected to. And I always have people, for the record, no one likes the sound of their own voice. I haven't met anyone. There's people that like to hear themselves speak.
Right.
But that's a different type of thing, right? So, but everyone, I don't want to listen to myself. I don't like to listen to myself talk. Everyone says that. And I find that so interesting too. So what I try to do is get people to be comfortable within their voice and also kind of take note on what they like about their voice or what they like about other people's voices. And a lot of the times people say they like things to be smooth. They like a lower resonance, especially when it comes to men. I've worked with actors. I've worked with managers. I worked with agents too that are working with actors because they have to pitch things and they have to be confident and close deals and whatnot. And they have their own self-hate of their voice, which is terrible. But we talk about what we can do to change that a little bit, or what about your voice don't you like? And I notice a lot of men telling me, oh, I feel like I sound too nasally, or I feel like I sound like I'm talking through a fan, or people have trouble understanding me. And mumbling is such a big factor, especially now. I hear it so much now. My own brother is such a good example. He's such a California boy surfer. And did we grow up in the same family? I don't know. We have such a different way of speaking. And, I've gone to school for speech and language pathology. So learning all about different tones in people's voices, like you were saying, like strident or breathy or, resonant. And there's all sorts of different vocal qualities. And I think the quality that is most appealing is one that kind of just is right in the middle. And that's, I think, also why standard American accents are so valuable in this way, because we do everything pretty evenly. So I always have people coming to me, they want to work on their standard American. And we use everything very evenly. But we also have our pitch is really important when it comes to that. And working out all those little hiccups in the pitch.
Okay,
That
very
comes along.
interesting. Well, can you tell me why a voice that is a certain pitch, it has, like as you were saying, a slower pace, lack of mumbling, the voice that some of these agents are trying to achieve having, why are these appealing accents, and what about them says confidence? Like why? So again, it's not the words that are coming out of their
Mm.
mouth; it's the way that they're expressing these words.
Mhm.
I don't know if there's an actual answer, or maybe just like a gut feeling for you. But even like when you're speaking, I'm like, I want to listen to everything that you're saying because you're doing exactly what you're talking about.
Well, I think the first thing and the easiest thing to address is speech rate. How fast are you talking? How slow are you talking? And we tend to ramp everything up, and we're overloaded anyway with everything that we have going on. But I think a lot of it's about speech rate, and confidence is, I feel, starts with speech rate. Slowing down, taking your time, formulating what you want to say, not being in a rush to get everything out. When people start to speed up, it's usually a sign of anxiousness, right? Usually a sign of being anxious and having anxiety about the situation. So slowing down, taking a breath. I think and to conquer speech rate, breath. It's all about breathing.
Yeah.
All about breathing.
Is there a point at which you're going too slow and it might be creepy?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. Well, then when people get too slow, then what happens is sometimes you end up getting more of a monotone sound. So
Right,
then you
yeah.
start talking like this, and yeah, that gets creepy. I'm just creeping myself
Okay.
out. But yeah, there's too slow, but there's also pausing and without putting too much filler. We use a lot of filler. I think that's another sign of feeling anxious, saying, like,
Like ums and
exactly,
likes.
and it's really hard for us to just stop and just breathe. And I think when I see someone that has a nice, I listen to a lot of radio, I listen to a lot of NPR, KPCC, and I was hearing Bryan Cranston the other day on The Frame.
Love Bryan Cranston.
Ugh, love him.
Yeah.
And he had such a beautiful speech rate, and he would stop and pause and think about what he wanted to say next. And that's so sexy because you're commanding the room. You don't need to get every word in edgewise. You are taking the time for yourself to focus on what you want to say. And there's thought in that, and there's care in that.
Do you do you do you think that there's intention in that? Is he doing that on purpose, or is that just the way he speaks because he's confident naturally?
I feel
You
like it's
know?
probably both. Also, he's a very trained, respected actor, and he was talking about he's doing network on Broadway right now. So he's talking. So if you're on Broadway, well, you better have had some training. So
Yeah.
so I think he's aware of it. I think it might come naturally to him at this point, but I think that he's aware of it.
Right. So it's kind of like a chicken and egg scenario question. Do you think he spoke like that to get where he is today, or because he got so far, he's calmed down in his speech and has that
I'd
tonality
be
now?
very curious to see or to hear what he sounded like when he was first
Yeah.
starting his career. I would hedge a bet that that would be different than what he sounded like when I heard him yesterday on the frame. I feel like that would be different. I think maybe his speech rate would be
Right.
different.
So you can work up to where he
Oh,
is.
absolutely.
It's not like you're gonna right from the get-go be just calm and collected. How does someone get to that place?
Well, I usually always start people out with breathing and just using your diaphragm more because we tend to just speak from the back of the throat or the chest. And there's two different types of breathing. There's deep diaphragmatic breathing. Anyone who's taken a yoga class has probably heard that word. And then clavicular chest breathing. And when we run fast, if we sprint down the hallway, yeah, we need to use our chest. We need to get that oxygen to our lungs as quickly as possible. But when you're in a calm state, it should be from your diaphragm. Also, when you're breathing from your diaphragm, you don't have all this tension in your neck. And that's another sign, even though maybe we're not taking stock of it. But I think that's another thing that we recognize and we see tension in someone. Right now, everyone that comes to me has been complaining about tightness in their jaw.
Mm-hmm.
And it is such a thing. It's kind of an epidemic right now. And
Do you know how to get rid of that,
everyone says
actually?
it. Yes. I just had someone in yesterday, and he's from Oklahoma, and he does not use his jaw, period, the end. So we started doing exercises to open up his jaw and to move it around and doing really careful exercises and kind of facial rotations and stretching it out. And he couldn't believe how different his face felt.
Yeah.
Wait, so what does it feel like to have a tight jaw? I don't really know. Like,
I'm
how
pretty
does
sure
someone
you have
recognize?
one.
Oh, you're the
I'm
only
sure I do.
one. You're the only one.
My butthole is tight. Like,
Yeah.
obviously, my jaw is gonna
Oh, well,
be tight.
that's actually that's a technique singers use when they need to hit a high note. They'll clench.
They're clenched their
They'll
butt.
clench down there. Yeah.
Ah,
So
Okay.
I
So
mean,
speaking and
that's
expressing
I
yourself
should be able
really
to sing
involves your
high.
entire body. I know. So you're you'd be
mhm.
like the highest pitched person ever.
everyone's clenching their butt right
Yeah.
there.
Well, so our friend actually just went to this massage therapist and physical therapist because he was experiencing a
Uh-huh.
lot of tension. I forget exactly where it was. And the guy said, "Do you mind if I do something?" He washed his hands. He said, "Open your mouth." And for about 5 minutes,
Mm.
he massaged like the very back behind his molars and just there. And he just massaged on both sides. And it just like took all the tension out from his face and from somewhere else in his lower back and like his hip. And it just like alleviated all of this tension because it's true. That's where we hold a lot of our tension. So I wanted.
So what is?
Oh,
Oh
sorry, go
yeah.
on.
But wait, quick question. If you're tight in the jaw, what does that lead to in your speech? Less
Less
like,
flexibility.
Yeah,
You
you talk
you
like
don't
this. You
open
talk
up
like
as
this. You
much, so there's less clarity.
okay,
Right?
got
You
it.
start just like kind of like doing that
Got
and
it.
like whatever's easiest, and you're just kind of like, oh yeah,
Yeah,
whatever.
like you sound like you have a
But
broken neck kind of almost.
yeah, and then you start doing things like vocal fry, which you just like, like I don't know, like whatever. And then that starts to happen. You start to close down.
Interesting.
You close down even kind of emotionally when you have stress there and you feel like that would be a hard thing to do to open up. Also, if you try to open up and it's not flexible, it clenches back. Just like when you try to stretch and touch your toes and you're not very
Right, and you stiffen up
flexible,
even more, and it's not.
it's not
Yeah,
a
it's not like
pleasant feeling.
a free flow.
Right? You
So
can't
if a
get there.
guy so if a guy is on a date with a girl and he
Mhm.
starts talking about her jaw being loose, it's not because he's
It's
being a
because he's listening
sickie.
to our podcast. Or what if he's on a date and he's like, "Do you mind just like massaging the back of my mouth for a second? I feel a little bit tense right now." Well, so I think this is a really good conversation because okay, here's the thing. We've talked about this a million times. People who are good looking have their foot in the door, right? People who are not as attractive can do a million other things to spark equal levels, if not higher levels of attraction with their personality, with the way that they dress, the way that they carry themselves, and the way that they speak. This is a component of it. So, the people that are listening to the show, number one, how do they find out if their tonality is crap? And they're not speaking as fluidly and as confidently as you're talking about. And then number two, what do they do about it? Like, what are the first steps? I know you said breathing is important, but maybe the second and third step after that. What can they do to improve the way that they express themselves?
Some people have a pretty good understanding of their own vocal perception, and maybe they've been told before that they they mumble or they talk too fast
Or they
or
sound too feminine.
and if you're comfortable with your voice and how you sound, no matter what that might be, great. If it's something that is stopping you from doing more and achieving the things that you want or meeting the person you want to meet, just those kind of things that are closing you off, yeah, then it's good to work on that. But there's a lot of exercise. Of course, I was talking about breathing. I have so many, and I'm always thinking of new ones. I joke that things that keep me up at night is like, what can I do to make this person know? And there's, I do a lot of loudness exercises. I work with a rapper, and he was finding that he had to write his verses in order to match how much he could actually fit in on one bar. And he was having a lot of trouble with that. So we also talked about breath support in order to give yourself a little bit more room to move. But as far as tone and changing your pitch, there's exercises for nasality. We have three nasal. I don't want to get
No,
too
get into that because I think that that's really because it's really important. I think that
nerd
yeah,
alert.
no, it's good nerd alert.
But there's three sounds for, especially for English, three sounds that are nasalized. It's M, N, and the NG sound, the ing. And if you were to lightly touch your nostrils, like with your fingertips, just lightly touch them and make an M sound, like you'd feel a little vibration on your nose. And that's because there's a flap in the back of your nasal cavity called the velopharyngeal port. No one has to remember that, but it's like a little trap door, and it closes when we make those nasal sounds. So if you were to make the same M sound, but then completely seal your nostrils shut and then say, nothing would happen because you closed the nostrils and sealed them in the front, and then that little trap door closed and air has nowhere to go. So those sounds are the nasal sounds. And what we tend to do is we hypernasalize other sounds that aren't supposed to be, especially when they're next to a nasal sound. So if I say something like man, and if I lightly plug my nose and it's too nasal, it's going to sound like this, man.
Right.
But now if I drop into my more of my chest voice using the lower end of my speech mechanism, which is from your diaphragm up into your head, and drop out my vowel that's not supposed to be nasalized, then I get man, man. So that man, nice and nasal, man, dropping it out. And we tend to just stay in that one spot, and we tend to talk right between our ears because we hear ourselves better. Everyone should try this who's curious about this. Going next time you're at a loud bar or restaurant, talk to the person across from you, your friend or whoever you're with, and try two things. Saying, "Can you hear me?" And then try, "Can you hear me?" And the first one I did took a lot more effort. The second one, not so much
Right.
effort. And they're picking up those lower frequency tones. Just like when a car pulls up next to you on the street and you don't know what song they're listening to, but you hear and feel the bass. That's that lower frequency.
Well, I'm so glad that you just brought up talking in a bar because I get really
Mhm.
self-conscious in a bar if I'm trying to talk to, especially a guy, and I'm shouting, and I don't know if we can hear ourselves as well as they can because I almost feel like I'm talking too loud, but they seem to be able to hear me, but I can't hear myself. Is that normal? So I think I overcompensate and talk extra loud, but it's because I'm not hearing myself.
Well, it's hard when you might be doing it. I mean, I have to be there to hear it, but you might be doing it actually better if you're talking louder and you're not hearing yourself as well. That might actually be better
Mm.
because we tend to compensate and talk in our head voice, thinking that okay, I can hear myself, so that person must be able to hear me. But what's happening is all those sound molecules are getting absorbed by all the fun stuff we have in our skulls and not using that chest voice, which is kind of your ribs and your all your clavicle. That's your built-in amplifier. That's your speaker. So you might be using more of that, and you might not be able to hear yourself as well, but that other person is definitely hearing you better.
Okay. They're like, okay, turn it down just a couple notches.
Or, I mean, to experiment with it next time. Try to talk more and try to adjust those levels and see if when you start to do, can you hear me? Also, that hurts after a while. And then you wake up the
Yeah.
next day and you like, oh my God, what's wrong with my voice?
What do you think about not projecting as much in terms of an attraction thing, Marnie? I would like your thoughts on this too, but rather than talking louder, what do you think about leaning in to the person at the bar and kind of talking into their ear?
Well, take
Ooh,
a step back.
that sounds
It
nice.
depends on who is
Yeah.
doing it, right? So let's say that you're not attracted yet and somebody leans in. Are you open to
Yeah.
that? And if you like, 'cause you're envisioning somebody you're attracted to, right?
You might pull back.
So overall, would you prefer somebody leaning in? Are you open to somebody leaning in?
Oh, yeah, if I like that person, yeah, come on in. If I'm not sure about them, I want my personal
Right.
space.
But if you don't,
Yeah. I can almost envision it where I've had someone lean into my ear and I kind
Mm,
of lean close to them to listen and then I pull back and then I talk at a further away distance to kind of let
mm.
them know. But I think that could be a good signal for guys if she leans in and talks into your ear and kind of continues to stay in that position. Obviously,
right, in
that's a
that
good thing.
space to get close to you. That's
Yeah,
really good. Oh, we're going to take a quick break, and then I do want to come back, and I want to talk more about
we
different
do.
exercises that
I thought you weren't going to come back.
I do, even with you, Kristen, and your tight butthole.
Surprise,
Um,
surprise. Oh, it's loose now, baby.
oh, it's loose. Thank God. Thank God. All right, we'll be back in a moment.
We want our lives to be full, full of love, full of joy, but mostly full of hair. So if you're losing your hair, you guys should check out forhims.com. It's a one-stop shop for all things men's wellness. And it couldn't be easier. It's such a quick process. You don't have to go to the doctor. You don't have to wait in lines. You don't have to spend hundreds. Because right now, if you guys go to forhims.com/wants, you get everything you need to keep your hair for just $5 today, right now, while supplies last. Check out their website for full details and safety information. But like I said, hundreds. It would cost hundreds if you went to the doctor or pharmacy. So go to forhims.com/wants. That's forhims.com/wants. Forhims.com/wants.
All right, we are back with Jamison Bryant, the lovely and talented. Look at me,
Come on, Mark.
I'm second guessing all of my wording now because you're listening to my voice.
Everyone says this. Oh my gosh, I'm speaking so differently to you right now.
Oh, I am totally. I'm
Well, I
totally
can tell
talking
Marnie is
differently.
talking different. Yeah,
I'm
she
talking
normally isn't
slower.
this. You are, and you sound sexier.
There,
Oh,
see, it works.
yes.
It works. We should
Mhm.
have a guy on the show to show how sexy it is. But it is. It is very sexy. But you're right. People who are too slow, I find extremely annoying. I find myself tapping my foot if they're a little bit too slow.
Yeah, it's like enough.
Um, I did
Mhm.
want.
Yeah, there's definitely a happy medium.
Yeah. Well, I did want to ask you one question, and we kind of touched on it a little bit, but I don't know if you know the answer to this. But w- I know we've talked about confidence and how when you do speak slower, you have the right cadence, you have the right pitch, you have a good speed rate. It does say something about you. But why are those things important to women specifically? I know we touched on that for a second, but I'd love if you could go into a little bit more detail if you have that detail for us.
I mean, I don't have any kind of research for that, but just for my own self, I think that the way someone sounds might make you feel if you're it like I think about my husband's voice. I'm going to get a little gushy here. I love it. Oh, I love his voice so much.
Stop
Oh my
bragging. Some
god.
of us are
It's
single.
he has such a good voice and I he makes me feel safe. I think that's I mean it's sexy but
My husband's voice as well.
it's confident. Yeah, it makes me feel like he's got it. He's got it under control and he's confident and he chooses his words carefully and he's a very thoughtful speaker. And I think a lot of it comes from, yeah, feeling like someone can be I think another thing about relationships is that you want to be with someone that would be perfectly okay by themselves. You don't want anyone to depend too much on you. So you want to feel like someone is okay on their own. And I think voice tells you a lot about that, how secure someone is.
I agree with you, definitely.
So it's-
I totally agree. Well, why don't you tell us, if you're comfortable, a little bit about how you met your husband and maybe that first interaction? Because a lot of guys are always writing in asking questions of where do I meet
Mm.
women and what do I do when I see a woman that I'm attracted to? And you have an interesting story. So, if you're comfortable, I'd love if you could share, remembering that there's guys on the other end who may want to in some way replicate what
Mm.
your husband potentially did.
Well, we met through a friend, and the first time I actually met him, he came to my house because he was going with my friend to a party, and they had a bunch of mutual friends together, and she noticed that he was interested in me, and she was our yenta, and
Yeah.
and kind of pushed us to each other a little bit in this kind of you should call her kind of thing. Of course, I think at that point, he didn't call me, but I got a Facebook message because this is the new world order. But that was a long time ago.
Did
Still,
you like that?
yeah, because I had just gotten out of a very long term relationship, so I wasn't jumping at the bit. Like I was kind of like, I
Right.
thought I was attracted to him when I first met him. I did like his voice a lot,
Right.
and I kind of was like, okay, he's cute. Okay, didn't really think too much of it. And then he wrote to me asking if I'd like to go get a coffee with him sometime, and which ended up turning into a little picnic, which was very cute. And then I remembered he was a musician at the time, and he was in a band, and he was a guitar player, and I was like, get involved with this. I was kind of, I'm just gonna step very far back here. And the thing that actually and we would run into each other, we would see each other with friends, we would end up just talking to each other, ignored everyone else, but I still had this trepidation about it. And then he
Can you
went
tell me why?
because I was assuming that when he's touring and he's meeting all these women and he's just having a
Right.
good time. So and even though I didn't want anything serious, I just kind of didn't want to get attached to that and get my heart broken. And then he went on tour. He went to South by Southwest, and I was like, I'm not going to probably hear from him, whatever. No big deal. I'm fine.
Well, actually,
And
let me take a step back for 1 second.
yeah.
Because you thought these things,
Mm.
were how did you behave? Were you just letting him kind of do all the work to
Yeah,
initiate
I
conversation?
think I did. I think I
Okay,
did.
you
And
were responsive, obviously.
yes, I was responsive, but I kind of I didn't text him too much or I didn't usually make plans
You were like
first.
protecting yourself.
And yeah, I was definitely protecting myself. And he was very respectful and he knew that I had been in a long-term relationship and almost too respectful where it got to the point where I was like, "Oh my god, does he like me? I think he does." And then
Right.
finally we made out and it was great. But still after we'd had that first kiss, I kind of still had all these feelings and trepidation about it. And then he went to go play this festival, kind of assumed I wouldn't hear too much from him. And he checked in with me in this really beautiful way. Just, hey, we just finished our set and it went really good. We're going to go get barbecue again because we're in Austin, and very like just funny kind of and very sweet about, how was your day? And I just thought, oh, crap, really like him.
Right.
But I liked him checking in, not annoying. He wasn't doing it all the time or feeling like he had something to prove that I'm not doing anything. And we didn't even have that conversation. He was just a nice human being. And I love that.
How long was that process to get from you thinking he was a musician that wouldn't be accessible to that transition?
I think it was about when I finally felt like, okay, I want to say it was probably around, March 8. So probably 4 or 5 months
Oh, wow. Okay, so
into
that's like a long stretch of time. And how often were you guys seeing each other in that time period?
maybe 2 or 3 times a week. Yeah, but we were taking it we were both like I said, respecting of each other's individuality and our own kind of time. And so we just enjoyed each other's company, but we didn't move into full-on relationship title until about 4 or 5 months.
So even though he was hanging out with you 2 or 3 times a week and you were doing whatever you were doing, you were still nervous about him being free and with other girls. If he were to say to you, or would there have been something that could have been said during that time period that could have made you feel better, but still would have you feeling attraction towards this? Or do you think that the openness of it without conversation was just as like, what would have been more helpful and what would have been attractive? Do you like how the process went?
I love how the process went because I don't like to move too fast. And because I had just come out of a 5-year relationship about 3 months before I met him, I didn't want to move too fast. So I was happy with the speed. I know I have one friend in particular who moves very fast and wants things out on the table. Let's go. What's going on? And that's not me personally. I need to really have a good, strong opinion about someone, but that's me. But I really liked the I think that 4 to 5 months of this kind of courtship really worked for me. But
Right.
that's
Well,
me.
but he also wasn't disappearing.
No, exactly. What I wasn't being ghosted. I
Right.
was none of that was happening. No.
Yeah.
He was very,
Consistent
very present.
and
Very present.
consistent.
Mhm.
Exactly. Okay.
Yes.
Can you give us a little bit of insight into your friend that does like things to happen really quickly?
Yeah. She is brilliant and she is so open to new experiences and she does move at a very fast pace. She wants answers quickly. She wants to figure something out. She's kind of like that overachiever. I love
Yeah.
that word. Um and has trouble slowing down. But, that's her. And she wants the facts and the answers right away, where I think someone like my personality is okay with kind of finding them out gradually in more of a natural way, where I think she kind of wants to know what's happening, what's going on. Okay, are they on board? Even if I'm not on board, I want to know if they're on board or not, kind of thing.
How does she usually approach that? How does she ask?
She's pretty forward about it. She'll just ask and say, I would like to see you more often. That's something that I think
Does it scare guys away?
it does sometimes. She said, I want to see you more often. And they kind of get this, which I think is a good way to open up that conversation if you want to have it. I think that's a good way to state it, to say, hey, I'd like to see you more often. I have a really nice time spending time with you. I think for a woman, that's a good way to gauge
Where
what
she's at.
someone's feeling and open up that dialogue. So she's
So she's not afraid of rejection,
no,
it sounds like, which
it
is
is awesome.
awesome.
She's very confident, very secure in herself, and she knows when it's time to kind of move on in that sense.
How old is she?
She's
Just
30.
sake of
No, you know what? I was listening to
Okay.
some of your other shows,
Oh God, judging our
and
voices, just like turn the thing off.
never,
What
not
do
a
they have
once.
podcasts for? They shouldn't even be near a microphone.
Yeah, right. Can I do this
Yeah.
show? Um, that's such an important question. I noticed you guys asked that. How old is this person? How old is everyone on the show seems to ask that question right away. And I think that's such an important question because it gives a lot of insight into,
Yeah, because I mean, if she's 22 and being that forward, it might be detrimental to her because, she might be dating people in her own age
Mhm,
bracket and they're just not looking for something as serious at that age. But if she's 30, 35, 45, it just makes much more sense to be. I mean, you can be clear at any age, but I
mhm.
think it just makes more
I've
sense
known her.
where
I've
she
known
is
her for about
age-wise.
9 or 10 years, and
Always been like that.
she's and like I said, she just I'm 35 and well, almost 35, and I was waiting so long for her to turn 30.
You're right.
Why are you 30 yet? What is wrong with you?
It's like you're acting.
Ugh.
Let's get there.
And so when she turned 30, I was so excited. And but she's always kind of been like that. She's always been pretty direct. But I think that I've told her numerous occasions that I do think it's better that she dates someone a little bit older than her because she just has those types of sensibilities, just more of a mature person. So
Okay, interesting. I did want to get into some questions from our listeners if you're open to answering questions.
sure.
Okay,
I'll
good.
do my best.
All right. Time listener, first time writer, love what you guys have put together and how it is delivered to us men in a very practical and actionable manner. Keep it up. You have given men a guide in maneuvering through so much of our unknown. What
Marnie, your
the
voice sounds really weird all of a
fuck?
sudden.
I don't know what to do about that, guys. But suck it up. No, I didn't.
Did you change
I didn't change anything.
Did you change this?
No, now is that what? Is it
You didn't
okay?
touch anything?
No, geez, I'm bending over
I
to
feel better
read
now.
because I can't see. So I met this girl through a meetup for a
Oh,
hike.
that must be
It was
why.
it was only us two, but had no romantic intent, strictly hiking. And then we met, and I immediately liked everything. We clicked and had a great time, and we shared a lot in our mentality and overall outlook in life. She lost something while on the hike, and I was able to help her relocate it through the internet. As a thank you, she wanted to treat me to dinner. We then had a few beers at a couple of places, and I walked her home, hugged her goodnight, and that was that. We have texted here and there, and it feels like there's chemistry there, but I don't want to cross the line if she maybe just envisioned me as a hiking buddy. We have since gone on another hike, and a friend of hers joined. Not sure if this was for her. This was for her to feel me out, etc. But I was involved, and conversations all day were engaging. Good times were had. I feel like I need to ask her out and relay my intent to be more than friends. Thoughts, Lewis?
I think he needs to ask. How did he kind of clarify how many?
He's kind of said they've done it a couple of times. They've gone on another hike. A friend came with. I don't know their age. That's the thing. Anybody who writes in, start saying how old you are, because it does play a factor in the way that we sort of answer these questions. But he is basically saying they had a good time. He helped her do something. They were having good conversations, but he doesn't. The line that stuck out for me is I don't want to cross the line if she's just envisioning a hiking buddy.
Mm.
That I
Yeah,
find
I
really.
think the hug kind of scares me. We hug goodbye. Hug is a very friendly thing. I don't hug a guy that I'm into because I'm too uncomfortable
What do
to
you
hug him
do?
when I
What do you do?
jump on him and
Right.
immediately sleep with him.
That is along the lines of
Yeah,
what you're
great.
doing.
No, I don't know.
0
I
to
think
60.
I think I probably get a little bit uncomfortable and kind of maybe do like a fake like lean in like, oh, would we hug? Would we not hug? Okay. And like smile and giggle if I was into him. But if I lean right into a guy and I'm like, this was fun, like thanks for hanging, and I give a hug.
I agree. I
Yeah.
agree with that.
Well, what about the pat? I do the pat.
The pat
Like
You
the
just wanna
hug,
be
the hug
friends?
pat, like the bro hug. I do the bro hug.
yeah,
Hey,
that
great
could be-
hiking with you.
Like,
Yeah,
great. Yeah, good. That's so fun. Pat,
I think the
pat.
pat is a signal of friends too.
Yeah,
It could be
yeah.
a signal of awkwardness, but also probably more likely friends.
Because a
Yes,
hug
for
can
sure.
be-
And a
'cause
confident
a-
hug.
Yeah, if someone's like right into it and just goes into it, they do not care about you at all. They don't care if you die in 5 minutes.
A hug can be signaling. Like if you give someone a close, kind of tighter hug versus the previously mentioned bro pat, because that was something that kind of happened a few times before my husband and I ever hooked up, where he would hug me and I was like, whoa, this is a nice hug.
Yeah,
but
just
nothing.
stay in it. Right.
Right.
Yeah, but I didn't do the pat because I was like, I'm kind of leaving this open. But I definitely do that with a lot of my guy friends, just naturally, just that kind of pat.
I wonder if the pat is to say, okay, let go now.
Like quick hug. Yes, here we did it. Look, we did it. High five. Yeah.
I do that too. It means it's like, okay, I'm done. I'm about to exit this hug, just letting you know so you can
Mhm.
release your arms.
Mhm.
But it is true when there is someone that I do like, to be honest, whether it's a woman or a man, if I do have that like connection towards them, my hug is not well thought out. It's just like, it's kind of like what you were talking about with tonality at the beginning of the show.
Yeah.
It's like, it's
a different
it's
tone.
slower.
It's a little longer, maybe. Yeah.
And I'm okay to pull away a little bit slower. Whereas if there is a friendship, it's like in and out really fast. I like it. It's a tight hug, and then I'm out of there very quickly. So that's interesting because we are all actually three very different personality types. And we are all kind of saying the same
hug
thing.
etiquette.
Yeah, exactly.
Hug
So
etiquette,
that's
yeah.
interesting.
Well, like for example,
So,
I was just staying at a friend's place, and we've been friends for probably 10 years. He's a buddy of mine, but he's a married man, but so he's a guy. And when I was leaving, I was just like, "Oh, cool, thanks. Like, give me a quick hug." And me saying, "Give me a quick hug" was like, "We're really good buds."
Mm.
And I would have never, if there were feelings there, the hug would have not existed whatsoever. For sure.
interesting. Okay. Very
Yeah.
interesting. Wouldn't have existed for you. Very
Mhm.
good points, ladies. I like this a lot. I do want to touch on one thing again that I mentioned that Lewis had said, where he said, "I feel like there's chemistry there, but I don't want to cross the line if she maybe just envisioned me as a hiking buddy." And this is a message I want to send to everybody who's listening. As important as it is to respect a woman and her choices and what she wants, that does not mean that you have to forget about what you want as well. So, Lewis, if you just want a hiking buddy, then that's great. You guys are on the same page. And if she wants to go after you, she can make that known for you. But you obviously want more. You sense chemistry is there. You'd like to take this to another level, which means that you have to ask for that next level. And the only toes that you're going to be stepping on, if you ask, or I don't even know how to phrase this, but you're not stepping on anybody's toes. You're not creeping anybody out, and you're not going to be insulting anybody by asking for what you want, because that's the only way that you're going to get it. Just because she wants a hiking buddy doesn't mean that you have to completely shut off all of your sexuality and all of your desire for her, hoping that one day she's going to open up to you. You have to go for what you want, and then she also has the right to say no to it if she doesn't want it. So I would stop hiking with her on a platonic level, ask her out, and see if she does want to take it to that next level and be something more than just your hiking buddy. Those are my
And
thoughts.
since this is
Well
overanalyze this,
said.
I'm curious what you guys think. If I liked a guy, I do not go hiking with him, especially at the beginning, because I look really ugly and I look like I'm struggling. So I think that's another sign in my world. But we had someone on our show recently who said, like, her first date, she loves to do a hike. I would never in a million years. Oh my God, full light, like sunshine.
Where is he from?
Oh,
Are
I
there,
no,
is
I
it?
don't know. That's I don't get that
Okay.
information. Yeah.
Because I was gonna say, if you want to go, I feel like going hiking in Runyon is like a level in your relationship. Like that's kind of
right.
it's a
That's
big deal.
step.
It's a big deal here.
Right. No pun
I do
intended. It's a
kind
big
of agree.
step.
I'm trying to think if I ever had a first date hiking. I think I would have been open to it.
Well, you went bowling with your husband and wore sweatpants, so I think you'd be open to hiking.
Right, exactly. I totally would. But they were such cute sweatpants, and he was totally opposed to them.
Wow, you're ahead of the trend.
I know,
Good
seriously.
joggers.
But,
Nice.
I'm trying to think. So actually, one of the first dates that my husband did ask me to go on, which I turned down because I wasn't available, he had asked me to go walking around the farmer's market. That was supposed to be our first date. Maybe that's a little bit more date-ish. I'm not opposed to a hiking date. It definitely does seem more casual, and that's fine to be more casual and to get to know each other.
Well, then when you do go on that, that dinner date, that it's going to kind of feel that much more special.
Yeah, I'm just saying that it's not a negative thing, or it's not
No.
like it's not like I'm automatically putting you in the friend zone if I say let's go
Friend
for a
zone,
hike. I think it's just very individual. But if you can choose something else, that might be a better option to going on a hike, because it is sort of asexual. It's sort of asexual. Like hiking is, right?
I don't know, but then if you're wearing one of those,
Yeah, how is she dressing on the hike?
yeah,
wearing
how is she
really great
dressing
yoga
on the
Right,
hike?
that's
pants, or is she
true.
wearing girl
Is she wearing the
sweatpants?
matchy thing?
Is she wearing heels?
Right, that's true. That's true. I'm just saying if
It's
that's what he's
definitely Runyon.
initiating as his first
Yeah.
date option, that he could switch it up a little bit. But I guess if a girl is really into you, it doesn't really matter where you take her, because she's into you already, and she's still going to try and look her best, try and say the best thing possible to make you attracted and into her.
Yeah, but see how you guys do in a different environment if she's open to.
Yeah. So I would say, Lewis,
that.
ask her to go somewhere else and tell her not to bring her friends with her next time. Anyway.
At least he
Yes.
doesn't think he's a murderer, because you
Right,
don't really hike
exactly.
with someone if
You don't hike with him.
Yeah, he's like, well, let's just go in this direction. I know there's no signs here, but anyway, Jamison, thank you for coming onto our show and sharing these important tips and tools that
You're welcome.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I know we didn't get to do a lot of the exercises, but it's also kind of hard to talk about that when because a lot of them you kind of have to see me.
Well, I
to
actually
do
think
that.
that a lot of the way that you spoke during this interview is just the best example possible for men to try to emulate. Actually, I will ask one more question. Who
Hmm.
would you say? Give me 3 people that men could listen to that could help them learn to gain the voice that you're talking about. Because a lot of guys
Oh
can
my
go
God,
home and
I'm
they can
going.
record themselves and they could hear what they sound. And to practice, they can continue recording themselves until they sound like who?
Okay, so I can't think of anyone off the top of my head like that really resonates with me that I would say 100%, but I have a text from a client. I won't name his name, but he wanted to work on his American accent, and he told me, he said Bradley Cooper,
Okay.
which I was like, okay, yes, I do like his voice. He has more of the kind of that friendly, congenial voice. Christian Bale, when he's doing either British or American, but I think most of us know him
As
doing an
American, yeah.
American accent. But he said those 2 guys specifically, so I thought that was interesting.
Well, you said Bryan Cranston was a good one to listen to as well.
Bryan Cranston was such a great one, especially a good measure of speech rate, I think is really. Oh, who's an example of someone a little bit slower that I find interesting? I just heard him on Fresh Air. I'm just plugging
I know,
NPR shows
seriously.
today.
As you should.
Next one, on Ask Women.
We're so far away from NPR. It's unbelievable. Marnie and
You're
I.
you're
I tried to
you're
get
on
us
your
on
way.
there at one point.
You did?
Yeah, so
Oh, wow.
long ago, but
You
yes,
were
I did.
rejected, obviously.
Try again. Remy Malik
Who's that?
had a very slow. He played Freddie
Oh,
Mercury.
yeah, that's who I said.
Mhm.
You know
Yeah,
what? I do like his voice. I do. I don't like his
yeah.
face
He has
when he
as
speaks,
much.
but I like his voice.
His speech rates is I'm not sure if I'm how I feel about it, to be quite honest.
slow,
It is
right?
very slow.
Yeah. I think that's
But
what
I
makes
won.
him really intriguing, though, because he's interesting
Mhm.
looking, he's speaking slowly.
Yeah, but he's confident in what he's saying. It's not like a monotone, slow. He is having issues.
Right.
It's a very it's a little calculated, but it does pull you in a little bit.
But I think it's also because
Yeah.
he has that face that it's the full package. I think, to be honest, that goes with that speed. But
Well, I was listening to him on the show, so and I know what he looks like. I mean, I don't have strong feelings about him, but I listening to his voice, I was like, oh, this is a much slower speech rate than what you normally hear, which I think is a good example because anything that someone would try to do right now without any coaching, if they were just to listen to someone by example, they would think they're slower, but maybe not even slow enough because there's always your own perception.
Right.
I'm speaking slow. Well, maybe a little bit, but not. You could do a little bit more.
okay,
So
great examples and a way to
yeah.
practice this. This is what I would advise people to do. I'm not a dialect coach, but for guys who come to me who say that they're having some difficulty with their voice and they don't want to be as monotone or they don't want to sound as feminine, I tell them to grab a book and grab a recording device. Everybody has a phone now that you can record your voice on and read a paragraph from a book out loud and play around with your voice. Try something really loud. Try speaking from your diaphragm. Try
Mm,
doing it nasally, just to hear how all the different variations you can create with your voice. And
that's
yeah,
great.
and then if
Yeah,
there's
I
something that
agree.
you're aiming for, you can just continue to record your voice, read that same paragraph, and practice it. You can do it slower. You can do it by bouncing your voice around. There's just a whole bunch of things that you can do. And then at the point, I know you even said that most people don't like listening to their voice, but at the point where your voice is tolerable to you, then start practicing that around other people and just see how and if they respond differently to you. Because I will say that, like, okay, so the way that Jameson's talking on the show, I'm leaning in. I can't help but lean in. The entire episode, I've been leaning in because I want to hear what's
And
going
it's
to.
not just because we can't
Right,
hear her.
exactly. It's like I want to hear what's coming out of her mouth. I don't know
Clarify.
if the listeners on the other end have the same thing, but it's just like you're right. It's
No, I
something that
have the same
draws you
feeling.
in.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many. Ah, gosh, everyone when I'm working with people, and I work, I do tend to 95% actors, I'd say, but I work with business professionals and the like, and everyone will say, oh, I can't do it like that. The first time we do some of these warm ups, And it's not going to happen right away. You've got to, this is an instrument. It is an instrument. So you really have to practice with it. And you have to, and I love what you said, Marin, about do a low voice, do a high voice, do a nasal voice, play around with it like you did when you were a kid, just to kind of hear those different, and it's a great way to warm up all of your vocal cords. It's like to kind of strum a guitar in a sense, to kind of get all those warmed up.
I did take a lesson once from a dialect coach because I started doing voiceover stuff, and I have a really, I'm sick right now, so my voice sounds a little bit off, but I have a really hard A. Like I say bad and like you said, man. I get very nasally there, but I didn't realize that the way we make sounds is just by the shape our mouth makes. I didn't realize that.
And you and I and someone from, I don't know, South Africa, we do the same thing up until we get into the mouth. And it's about the shape and how we.
And I didn't realize like our muscles are almost, because we've been speaking the same way since we were younger, that they're formed to make that shape. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And there's a lot of strengthening. You have a lot of muscle. I tell people too, I say, you just come to the gym for your voice. All of these exercises can kind of equate.
Work out.
It can equate to.
No sweat.
Yeah, I'll say, right? Well, sometimes. I mean, I say, this is like a pull-up. This is like a plank, different exercises. Because there's 17 muscles in your tongue. There are.
Yeah. Okay. And then the last thing I'll say about that was after I took that lesson, I became very scarily aware of my tongue. And this was probably, I took this lesson like 6 months ago. My tongue now every night when I go to sleep, I feel like is pushing against my teeth and I can't stop thinking about my tongue and the placement of my tongue.
That's
and it's
funny,
haunted
as
me.
You just said that, I was thinking the exact same thing about my tongue. It's like I was very aware of it.
Yeah, it's this big old mass. It takes up all this real estate. Yeah, it takes up a lot of space.
All right, enough talking about our gross.
And she's telling me to pull it back in my throat. And
Jamison Bryant, thank you so much for being on the show. If somebody does want to work with you,
thank you so much for having me.
I want you to come back. I think you're fantastic. But you're very busy and you're hard to nail down. So if people do want to work with you professionally and work on their voice to help them sound more masculine, more confident, whatever it is that they're trying to achieve with their voice, how and where would they get in touch with you?
They can just email me at jamisonbryant@mac.com, or you can go to my website, Jamison Bryant Dialect.
Perfect. And I will have a link for that as well. Thank you so much. And Kristen, thank you for being on the show.
Kristen, so nice talking with you both.
Nice to talk to you too. Yeah. And if you guys take up Jamison and learn how to speak properly, you can come over to me and learn what words to actually speak.
Exactly.
And I'm at kristencarney.com/dating help.
You guys are a fantastic team. First, learn how to say it and then learn what to say. You guys are wonderful. New episodes of the Ask Women podcast come out every Thursday at 5 p.m. Pacific. I messed up a couple of weeks ago and published instead of saved, so it was out a little bit early, so that was a nice treat for you. Hopefully I won't do that in the future. But if you want to send in questions to our show that we can overanalyze to death, like we did for Lewis today, send them into ask@askwomenpodcast.com. Please. I know.
Poor Lewis.
He's like, I just want to go hiking. We will see you guys next week. Thank you for listening.